Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hollywood Knitter Podcast. My name is Allison, Allison1031 on Instagram and Ravelry, and I am recording in the evening on Tuesday, June 7th, 2016. I have lots to share with you. I've been doing a lot of travels lately. I'm pretty much done for the summer now, thank goodness. I have been doing a lot of knitting. I've had some stash enhancement, some knitting shenanigans, sort of, and some other things. So let's get started with the knitting first. FOs. I have two FOs. My first FO are my knit along, my Star Wars socks. I finished these on May 28th. I started them on May the 4th. This was a knit along from Mustache, and this is her yarn. This is the C3PO colorway. And I did this kind of running motif that I sort of made up. Now, these were a slog of love. These are for my boyfriend. Not really a slog, because the first sock I finished in Maryland like in 4 days. And then I knit most of the second sock and then tried them on my boyfriend's feet. And they, like a lot of my socks, were just too tight over here at the instep. I think we have a higher instep. And it was just tighter than I liked. And I'm like, you know what? I can do better. And so, of course, I tried him on his feet at like 10 o'clock at night. So I went to bed kind of ruminating and thinking about it. And I really just wanted to do a gusset at the top like you do when you take care of the bottom. So that night I was in bed Googling, because you know, that's sometimes what you do is on the phone. And I found an article from Notions magazine, which was an old online magazine, which I'm pretty sure is defunct. And it had a little article about doing a gusset on the top, especially for short row heels, because you're not doing a gusset on the bottom. And I was like, that's exactly what I need. So I did it. I followed the directions entirely and basically created this little triangle gusset on each side on the top. And that basically how you figured it out is you did your gauge, and about an inch before you started, and I increased 6 on each side, which ended up, I think, being a little too many. I think I probably can get away with 4 or 5, but I was just following the recommendations, and the recommendations for 72-inch circumference, which is what the foot is that many stitches, but then I reduced to a 68. So regardless, I followed it. So you do the increases at the increase on either end of the top of the foot until you get this line, and then you do your short row heel, and then you immediately, as soon as you finish your short row here and you start again including the stitches on the top, you start decreasing, and the decrease was actually right here. So that worked really well. And of course, I did this on the second sock. I had knit like all the way up to here on the second sock, ripped all the way back, did this gusset, did more because he wanted the sock a little longer, tried them on, they're perfect. Then took the first sock and ripped it back to the same point and did it. So I basically knit 3 socks. And I was on a knit along deadline, or self-imposed. It's not imposed. It was supposed to be done by June 4th. And finished with a week to spare. And he has an awesome pair of socks that he loves, that he hasn't been able to wear yet because the latest socks I have go on sock blockers. Well, he will be able to wear these soon. So these were, again, just toe up, fish lips, kiss heel, kind of a little slip stitch pattern I made. The yarn is entirely hers. And then I did a knit 1, purl 1 at the top. So I used about, I think 90% of the skein. So made these a little taller than previous ones that I'd done for him. And I'm really pleased with them. So these are another complete pair of socks for him. And I finished my second FO is another pair of socks for me, but these were a lot faster. So let me just put them on the sock blockers to show. I had started, because everyone should have knitting in their car, I had one day put a pair of socks, some sock yarn and some needles, and started some socks and put them in the car with the idea that I would have emergency knitting whenever I needed it. And I did knit a few rows, and then we went away for the weekend to, I think, San Diego. No, I know we went to San Diego, but I'm pretty sure at that point I had about this much done, like on the sock, and then proceeded to knit. and finished the first one over 2 days because I had a lot of knitting time. So on these, I decided to do my toe up, and I just put a rib on the top, and I put in my fish lips heel, and I did my own version of the gusset. So it changed a little because I did the increases and the decreases in the same spot versus the other one I didn't like where they had the decreases because it creates a line I didn't like. And then I did 5 stitches for mine, and it worked really well. And then I decided to make mine shorty. So I kind of decreased and did a little extra inch, and then I did a twisted rib for 5 rows and then cast off and made little shorty socks. And the yarn is Opal Melon Weight Aspen, and you know, they don't have colorways, so it's like a number, it's like red gray. And I'm really liking it. Like, I love the look of it, the feel of it, and I only used about 50 grams, so I have half the skein left for my shorty socks. So I'm definitely going to use the sock yarn and incorporate it with like a heel and toe, and I can get another pair of socks out of it. And I might actually do a pair for my boyfriend. We kind of have matching socks. Wouldn't that be kind of cute? So those are my 2 FOs. Now, whips. I'm not going to show the blanket this week. Blanket's ongoing. I finished from last time. I have 15 inches. From having done 3 inches a month. This is my linen stitch blanket. I'll show it next time because I haven't shown it in a little while, but I haven't started for June. Got to do another 3 inches, and by the end of June, I will be at 18 inches and will be 25% done. Crazy. Well, the other thing that I had been working on is, I'm not in a good spot to show it too much, but I'm working on my Cintron, and I have now finished the first skein, and I stopped in the middle of the row so I can't like hold it up awesomely. And I am on repeat 6, I think. And I just started the second skein not that long ago. And I was hoping to do the whole skein, but I have to see how big that's gonna make it. I'm at least gonna do to 8 repeats because that's what my old one had. But I was hoping to do it a little longer, so I might do a 9th. And it's, you know, it's sloggy knitting. It's a lot of stockinette, and then the, you know, the ruche section is like double the stitches. And you know, when I did that, I have like over 500 stitches on the needle. So still loving it. Love the Malabarito lace. Feels awesome. I love being able to Russian join it, or not Russian. I just spit spliced it. And I did a lot of mindless knitting when I was out and about. I have another big project that I cast on since I last saw you. And I had this kind of, you know, idea that I might finish this for Zombie and Apocalypse, and it didn't happen. So it goes. But I did start the project that I had bought my Hazel Lively DK at a Fiber Space when I was at Maryland Sheep and Wool, and the specific pattern that I got it for is called Summer of 2016. Summer of 2016 by Nidhi Kansal, and it's just a short sleeve top with a lattice work detail in the front, and it's shorter in the front and longer in the back. And I have gotten the wagon wheel of Lively DK from Hazel Knits. That's 825 yards of DK. So I cast on for it when I was in Yuma and got quite a bit done. And I am up to, I don't know, 5 or 6 inches in the front. I think I have another 5 inches to go. But as you can kind of see, let me see if I can hold it up so you can see it. There we go. You can see where it's longer in the back than in the front, which I like because I'm a girl who, when I sit down, tends, if I'm not wearing the right jeans or the right shirt, can possibly show some skin. So I like things that drape a little longer in the back because that's where I need it. Loving knitting with this. It is so kind of shiny and the detail is really popping. It's going to pop more when I block it. I don't think I'm going to run out of yarn, but if I do, I won't need that much, and it would just be on the sleeves. So I'll be okay with it. I'm pretty sure this is a color that she does dye, so I could always just get a single skein. So that's going along, and I knit on some of that this weekend too. I have it in my needle runs through it bag. which I got at Stitches West a few years ago. I also cast on a new project when I was at Zombie Apocalypse because I finished those socks, and I don't have it right now because it's in my purse. But I passed on the Spindrift shawl by Helen Stewart, and it's a free shawl that she gave if you joined her mailing list. It's a really simple stockinette with just a lace detail border. It's been in the Ravelry top for a little while, and I cast on with that. It's called Pandia's Squidgy yarn. And this was a yarn that I won at Cognitive as a door prize. And when I was deciding on my next pair of socks or fingering weight project that I wanted to bring, I was like, oh, I'll go to my oldest sock skein that I have. And it ended up being the skein, and I skeined it up. And then when I looked at the yardage, it was like 490 yards. I'm like, oh, I gotta make this a shawl because that's a lot of yardage. So I did start it. I'm about 20% done. Again, I'll show it next time, but it's really easy knitting. Check it out if you're interested in a very simple shawl. I saw some at Zombie Apocalypse that people were knitting, and they were beautiful. It was traditionally done in like a speckled yarn, and it looks beautiful in a speckled yarn. Mine is more like a variegated yarn. Still gonna be okay. It's not gonna be something I'm keeping. It's definitely gonna go into the gift basket, but so it goes. All right, so that is my whips and my FOs. And now let's talk about a bit of my travel that I've been doing recently. I had a spate of travel back to back to back. I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool, which I had talked about. And then that weekend, the next weekend, I went to Yuma, took the train there to see the boyfriend again, and then drove back with him. So I got a lot done on my top while I was there, a lot of knitting. And then had a weekend where we were actually at home, but my boyfriend is king of last minute tickets. Like, he doesn't like to buy things months in advance. He likes to do it the day of the event and get cheap tickets. So even though we hadn't planned on doing anything, we ended up on the Friday going to the LA Philharmonic, which was awesome, at the Disney Concert Hall. If you ever get a chance, it's amazing. And these seats were really cool. Like, we'd gone once before where I'd gotten him birthday tickets, and this was only our second time going. And he chose tickets that are actually behind the orchestra. So the way that this kind of, well, I don't know if all symphony halls, but you have the orchestra on the stage and then you have seats, going out, and it's that. But this also has seats behind the orchestra, which last time we were there were occupied by like choral singers. But this time they sold the tickets. So instead of having like, the conductor's back to us, we were actually able to watch the conductor. And the conductor of the LA Philharmonic is Dudamel. He is a very energetic, a very interesting people to watch. So it was a really different perspective, one that I've never really seen, watching music be, played and the conductor. So that was really cool. And then there we actually saw Rob Schneider and his wife and young child, which they had brought, and were sitting really close to us, and they had to leave like halfway through because it's a long time for kids to sit. And the first piece was one that's a current conductor. The second one was Bach, it was Mozart. But the first piece had a lot of silences, like actual da-da-da, beat, beat, beat music. And when you have those beat, beat, beat in a symphony hall, you can hear everything. We heard multiple phones, people talking, and then you could hear, this little kid was in there going, I gotta pee, I gotta pee. And of course, the way they were sitting, they had to like stand up, and the conductor can see because the conductor was facing us. So anyways, they ended up leaving halfway through that piece and didn't see them again. And then I also had another sighting of an actor while I was in the lobby, Crispin Glover. He was there with some friends. So then we ended the weekend on Sunday with going to a soccer game, which his boyfriend's a big soccer fan, and I'd never been to a professional soccer game. So we went to the Galaxy game, and that was pretty cool. It was very interesting to see. We had seats pretty close to see. I love seeing sport events from that perspective. It's very different from television. You feel much more involved in the game. So that was fun. And then the next weekend was Memorial Day weekend. So we had been planning to go to San Diego for the whole weekend, but we had to only go on Sunday and Monday because of some other conflicts. And so that's where I knit that first sock on the boat. His brother has a boat, and so we just hung out on the boat during the day. And then we got a hotel that night because they had a lot of family staying there. We just hung out with his nieces and his brother and his wife. And it was beautiful. It was very overcast. And I forgot the golden rule that you can still burn when it's overcast. So I got a little pink. I got a little pink from just thinking about the sun, I think. And then I came back and it was time for Zombie Apocalypse. Yes, Zombie Apocalypse. This is my 3rd year going, and if you didn't know, it's a retreat put on by the Stockinette Zombies, who have a podcast. You should totally watch them. And I had the lovely opportunity of meeting them the first year we did SSK, and then they started their own retreat the next year. It was awesome. So I've been going the past 3 of the 4 years. And my knitting retreat is kind of like how it is always how I like my knitting retreats. There were a lot of cool classes and things like that, but I didn't partake of many of them. I pretty much just hung out, well, slept in, did some exercise, hung out with friends, knitted, ate dinner, ate lunch. That's what I did. Did go to the market. Let's see. Let's show you the goodie bag, and then I'll show you my acquisitions. And we had name badges. And then this was our goodie bag, which I think is awesome. This is a bag made by Silver Shed Studio, and the fabric is custom printed. They actually bought a fabric printer, and this fabric matches the goodie yarn. She had minis drawn up and dyed in the rainbow color, and then knit a swatch and made fabric of it and made a bag of it. How awesome is that? So the minis, and I won't take this out, but the minis were actually dyed up by all different designers. So I know Dramatic Knits or Leading Man Fiber Arts is in here, Another Crafty Girl is in here, Marigold Jen's in here, and there's some others. So they each gave them a color, and then they dyed to that color. And then to match this, Megan and Amy, which I don't think I have, they created patterns specifically that went with the minis. So I'm going to probably do the shawl pattern, I think, of Megan's that she designed with those minis. Really awesome. What else in our awesome bag? Another awesome ZK mug, Tervis style mug, which I really like because the last one I had, it was funny, right before I left, like the day of, I dropped it and broke it, the one from 2015. So I was really happy to get another mug from 2016. And then we had a really awesome bag. I love this Notion bag, and there's like a other little things in here. There were some chocolates, a little yarn, you know, a lure, fabric wash. There was a bag, a recyclable bag in here from someone, and I actually put that in my purse already. And then there's various, you know, discounts, and so that was awesome. And then, of course, the bag itself. Now, this is not a shape that I've had before, and I really like it because you can use it also as a yarn bowl. You unzip it all the way and kind of fold it down, and then you can kind of have it sit open next to you with your yarn coming out. And so I really like that. Oh, I also got a little Stockinette Zombie yarn keeper. Yeah, so really pleased with all of that. Beautiful, lovely. They put on a great show. It's in Rochester, Minnesota, if I didn't mention that. It's got about 200 people that go and has an amazing market on Saturday. I picked up a few things. Not too many though. I was very, very restrained, and I'm going to lean out because my cat has been playing with them and made them scatter a little bit while I've been talking to you. Apparently they smell nice. Okay, so the first stop I had was actually the yarn bus, and it's 716 Knit Buffalo, who's been there before, and I picked up this, which, can you guess really what sold me on it? Yes, it was the orange. I love the kind of speckly with the really big orange. And this is the 716G, which I had never seen before because it's 90% superwash Targhee and 10% nylon, 400 yards. How beautiful is this? I love it with the orange, and then there's like speckles of greens and pinks and the whites, and these are going to be totally socks for me, and I'm going to love the crap out of them. So that was outside in the van before I even made it to the market, because we took our time and had some panakuka for breakfast and didn't wait in line to get in the market because there was nothing truly needed, as not always the case. So then my purchases were just 2 stops. I wandered around the market. There was a lot of beautiful yarn, but I was really trying to be specific. So one of my purchases was yarn. I'm looking to go with some sport weight that I picked up at Maryland Sheep and Wool. That was the skinny dipping yarn, which was a 50% merino, 50% silk. I found a pattern I wanted to do with it, but it was like a stripe pattern, kind of like a nautical kind of theme. So I needed a contrasting color. Now I'd gone back to the dyer because she had updated, and all of her colors were very saturated and didn't give the contrast I wanted. So I was specifically looking for a sport weight that would contrast, and there's also like a lace kind of detail. And the yarn that I have is kind of nubby, and I don't think it would show the lace as crisp. So I found, and first of all, sport weight's hard to find. There weren't a lot of people carrying it, but I did find Leading Men Fiber Arts has callback yarn, which is 100% superwash merino, sport weight, 328 yards, and this is the color Sandcastle, which is perfect. It's not the same yarn base, but I think it's gonna work, and I can't wait. So this was specific because it was to complete a project that I needed. Now, the rest of them, they were just something I wanted. And I went by my friend Sarah, another crafty girl. I love her yarn. Every time I see her, I pick some up. Now, this skein is a skein called Numerical Vampire. And I'm assuming that is Count from Sesame Street. And there's a strong sock, which is a 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. And these were going to be a pair of socks for the boyfriend. I was specifically looking for kind of like a boyfriendy color. And he actually has a pair of socks, and this one was exact teal. So I think he'll like it. The purple is kind of really deep, like a deep purple and blue, and this will be a perfect pair of socks for him. Then I picked up these. Now, these look like just a skinny yarn, but in actuality, these are mini skein sets. This is how Sarah skeins them. She doesn't do separate. She winds them all together and makes it. So I'll kind of unwind it so you guys can see a little bit. Oops, so put the tag back on, and I'm not really, but you can see there are 7 mini skeins. So each one is 40 yards, and they're all Muppet inspired colorways, and I just love them. I love them in the skein. I loved how they look. You can see this one has a lot of yellow, has some Big Bird in there, and some green for Oscar the Grouch, and yeah. And so I didn't know, oh, I'm so bad at this. I will do this after. I really love people who can skein yarn because it takes me like 4 tries. Then the other one, I got a second one too because I really like both of them. This is Raise the Curtain mini skein bundle, and this is actually from that one's from Sesame Street, and this one's from the Muppets, like After Hours kind of thing. Now, they're each 280 yards, and so I'm thinking I'm going to do a pair of shorty socks with one, kind of a like cool little weird striping thing, and then I'm going to do a awesome hat, like a sock weight hat with the other one. So very excited. If you love Ponky, she's known as Ponky, Sarah, another crafty girl, her yarns are awesome. Her colorways are awesome. They're so fun. They're inspired by Muppets and games and all sorts of things, and I recommend checking her out. I saw a lot of other things that I resisted. Mode Knit was there, Knit Circus was there, Marigold Jen was there, all people that tempt me. They tempt me. But I would try. I didn't have anything in mind, and I just wasn't hit extensively by the shopping bug. So I got, you know, my 5 skeins, of which 2 were mini skeins, so they're even less, and I was happy. And then, yeah, I was happy. I also won a skein of yarn, as everybody is guaranteed a prize in the which I don't have. I'm going to be gifting that to someone else. So I didn't want to show it on the podcast because I want them to be surprised. But I did get one more skein that I won that is coming home with me. That came home with me, but is not going to live in my stash. So it doesn't really count. What else do I have? So that was kind of it. Travel was easy. Now you guys know I travel a lot, but I traveled on Delta this time, and I rarely travel on Delta. So apparently it's been so long that I hadn't put in my traveler ID. And so on the way to the airport early on Wednesday morning, my flight was at 6:30. I realized I didn't have TSA pre-check on my boarding pass. And then I'm like, oh no, I forgot to enter my number. So I entered it last minute. And then when I got to the airport, I tried to see if they could reprint it, but it was too late. So I had to go through regular security, which wouldn't necessarily be a problem, except, I was cutting it a little close like I usually do. But I did what I had to do. But I had great travel karma because there was a pretty long line. And then all of a sudden TSA agent, 2 people in front of me says, okay, starting from there, follow me. And I was like, oh no, they're going to move the line longer or back because it was starting to get crowded. And they actually brought us to 2 new stations they had just opened up. So I was able to get through security, regular security, in less than 15 minutes. And that was awesome. Then I had enough time, barely, to grab a breakfast sandwich and make it to my gate right when they started boarding, which is perfect timing. And then on the plane, lucked out, nobody in the middle seat. So plenty of room to knit and be comfortable. Couldn't get better than that. And then the flight back, also really easy. Took the shuttle in the morning, and I took an early shuttle because I had a 9 o'clock flight. So I left Rochester at 5:50 a.m. on Sunday. I was in the lobby at 5:30, and the driver came, and he's like, you are my only passenger. So I had this giant, beautiful bus to myself all the way from Rochester to Minneapolis. And I took a nap because I was tired. Because when you fly, you just wake up all night because you don't want to miss the alarm when you have to be a certain time. I want to give a special shout out to my roommate, Stacy Knits. We had a wonderful time, and she was a wonderful roommate. And all of my other friends that I hung out with, it was wonderful seeing you. And I'm so sad I'm not going to see you guys for a while. But, say lovey. Since I'm not making Rhinebeck, I think a lot of time I won't see most of them until next year, and maybe February. I think I'm going to try to go to the Virginia Beach yarn getaway again. So that's kind of all I have going on. I'm really sad that our other knitters who usually attend who couldn't be there this year. You were missed. There were quite a few of you that we thought of. Babies and life changes and other things preventing you from coming made us sad. But I was lovely meeting the new people I met. I met a wonderful girl from Boston who we figured out we had met at Rhinebeck a few years ago. Crazy. And some other people who I hadn't had a chance to talk with in years past. And then the old favorites I got to say hello to and hang around and knit a little bit and see the lovely knitwear. It was a lot of fun. And I did have some local beer because you know me. I had some local IPAs and some beautiful beer brought for me, and I got to taste. It was fun. It was fun. And now I have nothing planned until the family comes, my niece and nephew. Well, until I go to Vegas for a few days and then pick up the niece and nephew in Vegas, bring them back for a kids week where we'll be going to the beach and theme parks and all that wonderful jazz. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. And then Hawaii. Those are my big trips. In between then, I got to get some knitting done. I am feeling like I'm in some really slow projects. So I want to make more FOs, which is hard for big ones. And I'm also feeling, I don't know about you, but the other thing with my restriction is I sort of have a number, a cap. I like my yarns and my stash to be under 100. Not because I'm afraid to have more yarn, but it's that represents more projects than I have time to knit for. Like I easily have projects for another 25 or 30 projects in my stash between socks and sweaters and shawls. And, you know, I'm averaging 20 projects a year. So I have 2 years worth of yarn, and I like to have turnover. I don't like things to sit in my stash for a long time. I don't like scraps. I don't like all this stuff. So I'm feeling like I've reached my limit. I think I'm going to have like a yarn buying moratorium for the most part until later next year. maybe in February when I go to the next yarn event, since I don't have anything between now and then, and really try to get through some of these projects that have been in my queue for a while so I can enjoy and wear them. So that is it from Los Angeles. I hope that June is finding everyone well and happy. And it was wonderful talking to you again. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day and evening. That's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Good night, everybody.